This is a review of the Nikon 24-120 f4 Z-mount lens. The 24-120 is such a versatile lens, it just works well in many different shooting situations and locations. I mostly use this lens for landscape photography and video, so we'll be covering these two topics. Think of it as a hands-on review. But first, let's get into the ergonomics and build quality. The lens weighs in at 710 grams, when resting is 13.5 centimeters long, and when fully zoomed is 19 centimeters. The balance of the lens feels great and not too heavy, and not too end heavy either. It just feels balanced all along it. There's 3 rings here too. First one being the focus, second being the zoom, and third, as the default, is the aperture control. There's also a function button on the side. I don't use the aperture ring, I still prefer the camera dials to change my settings, but you can customize this ring to something of your choosing. Handy to have, but for me, not a game changer. I found zooming with this lens a tad tight and weighty, not necessarily a bad thing, but something I was not expecting. This lens has a metal feel with a rough, textured body here, which feels like luxury. But really, it just feels great to hold, and all of the rings are easy to reach and in the right places. It is also weather sealed, meaning it is dust and splash proof. I have used this out in many desert environments and can testify that yes, it is indeed dust proof. I would feel very confident taking it out into even more harsher and dustier conditions. And to top it off, the lens takes 77mm filters. Now to landscape photography. What I do like about this lens for landscape photography is that I know what I will get from it. As you would expect, being an S-line lens, this lens is optically fantastic. Corner sharpness is great, center sharpness is great, colors are great, it just produces beautiful images, it really does. The bokeh is a bit busy and might not be the prettiest, but it still manages to produce some decent results. For sun stars, they look okay, a little bit cloudy, but they are still quite sharp and prominent, and I'm happy to have them in my images. Autofocus is very quick and locks on and tracks extremely well. For close focusing, I can get to about 35 centimeters, which is pretty good. Throw in a manageable weight, a generous focal length, and a fixed aperture of f4, it has become my go-to for landscape photography. Now, let's talk about video. Much like photography, this lens excels with video. It has silent and accurate autofocus, which makes it great for face tracking. This lens has become my default run and gun lens now, and the optics and versatility are perfect for what I shoot, from corporate videos to wildlife. It is one of the best video lenses I have used. However, there are a couple of downsides to this lens, and that is the lack of VR or stabilization. Kind of a big deal in some situations, such as filming in a car or on a boat, but the camera's inbuilt stabilization generally takes pretty good care of things. You also need to be smart in what you're shooting too. You can't be zoomed to 120mm shooting out the window of a moving car, but it's okay, not a real deal breaker. However, I might be reluctant to use this on a Z50. For photography, it'd be okay, but for video, it could be a bit of a disaster as this camera doesn't have any inbuilt stabilization. If you're a Z50 user, I would highly recommend using the GREATS 24-200 f4 to 6.3 instead. A lens that has stabilization and is a perfect fit on the Z50. But overall, I'm not concerned with the lack of VR on the 24-120. When paired with full-frame cameras such as the Z9, it's a non-issue. The 24-120 is such a versatile and dependable piece of kit that, honestly, you could use it for any type of photography. It really is a magnificent lens. The image quality, the autofocus, the build quality, the price. It is truly one of the greats, and I highly recommend it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.